Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies. Becker Retirement Group is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Becker Retirement Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
This is Real Retirement Radio with Arwen and Randy Becker. With the Retirement News Network's Megan Mozak. With more than 45 combined years of advisory experience, Arwen and Randy founded Becker Retirement Group in 1999 with the understanding that retirement is more than just money. It can be the best time of your life. This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, it's Megan Mozak from the Retirement News Network, and I'm so happy to be here with Arwen today. She is one of the founders of Becker Retirement Group. She helps people just like you and me right here in our community plan successfully for retirement. And if retirement's getting close for you, if you're thinking about that, but you don't have a plan, this is what Arwen focuses on. She helps people get not just to retirement, but through retirement. And it's a lot different these days, planning for retirement. So if you have some questions, if you want to make sure you're on the right track, reach out to Arwen today. She has a great team. She works alongside her husband, Randy. The number there to reach them, 800-725-8220. And make sure you keep that number with you as you're listening. If you have any questions today, feel free to call 800-725-8220. All right, Arwen, you and I, we are kids of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So you remember the Rubik's Cube?
Of course I do. My kid was actually, you wouldn't believe it, this morning. He's turning 11 in like 2 weeks, and he asked me if I would look into getting him one of those for his 11th birthday.
Do they still sell it?
Yes, and he was using his older brother, who's 21. He was using it this morning.
Oh,
it's so
my
funny.
gosh.
Yeah, it's so funny that you bring that up. Yeah, so of course I remember him, and I was just reminded this morning. I remember
that thing used to frustrate me. I had a friend who could do it, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it was that 3D puzzle, and it was really popular back in the 80s. It had different colors. You had to finish a side by getting all the same colors on one side, and it just, if you moved one, then it screwed up the other side. It was just, for me, it was frustrating, but some people are really, really good at it. I was thinking about the Rubik's Cube. Arwen, it's funny that you brought it up yourself with your boys, but that's kind of like planning out retirement, a retirement income strategy, because you're trying to put all these different pieces together, having that portfolio, maximizing your income, and it gets overwhelming. And like I said about my experience, it gets frustrating.
Yep.
So I want to talk to you about that, how we take advantage of the different smart financial tools out there, how we build our puzzle, put the pieces together, and come up with a retirement strategy.
You know, you're so right about that, because that's one of the biggest common issues that people come in and they're like, they kind of, set all these pieces onto the desk, these papers. And it's like, how is this a plan? And that's where I think, just like the Rubik's Cube, a lot of people kind of just throw their hands up in the air and they just go, I'm not even going to try, because it seems like it just can't be solved. Yet you talk to somebody like my 21-year-old who can nail a Rubik's Cube in like 2 minutes or something, because he knows the algorithms, the mathematical algorithms built behind it to make it work. And the same goes for what we do. So a lot of people, they have these different pieces, but maybe they don't actually have a pension or things like that. And then they're adding in inflation. And then, of course, healthcare costs for the future is something that's really overwhelming. And it's just a lot of different things to consider. And so today, that's what I'm hoping to do, is just to relieve some of this confusion and really the frustration, and then just also that trepidation that stops people from even starting to look at this, and really help you solve this puzzle.
All right, you're going to have to send your son my way so he can teach me his ways with the Rubik's Cube. That's awesome. Arwen, thinking about getting going on a retirement strategy, like a lot of things in life, I would assume timing is everything here, right? How would you say timing fits into someone's retirement plan?
Well, timing's huge. And it's not only huge in the plan of it, but just being ready to really start tackling that. We've had people who have come to events of ours 2, 3, 4 years ago until they're finally actually ready or that time is right. So when you're looking at how all these pieces are going to come together, it's starting the process, but really just a lot of things just kind of have to come into view. And I love helping people see that. And so then what you do is once you've got those pieces in front of you, then it's starting to make the right decisions at the right time. And what we don't want to have happen is either jump to making a decision that's irrevocable that could over a 30-year time period really hurt us, or just not be the best that could have happened, or do something that is going to permanently affect your income for the future. There's just a lot of different things. So you want to get it right the first time. And when I talk in our seminars and the events that we have, that is such a big piece of it. Getting information prior to, I don't know, I have to retire in 30 days. That's not 30 days out of retirement is not getting it all, kind of in order. It's starting to look at this a couple of years in advance. So you know that you're going to be able to get it done right. And that's how we help people. We help them understand what they have and how we can start piecing all of this together and make that cute little Rubik's Cube actually the solid colors and not that frustrating speckle of colors that you're like, I can't do it.
Yeah, take the stickers off and just that's what I used to do.
Yeah, deconstruct it.
Oh, okay. So if we're trying to make sense of the moving parts in a retirement plan, and boy, there's a lot these days as we're looking at an environment, Arwen, where we don't have pensions anymore. So it's up to the individual. It's up to us to figure out income. A lot of that gets frustrating, and timing is important, as you say. So as we're talking about this, what does a solid retirement income plan actually consist of?
Well, I mean, it's a number of things. I mean, you have to set a retirement date. I mean, whenever we're utilizing our tools, that is something that we have to just say, okay, let's just assume this date. We have to have a cash flow or detailed expenses. That's a big piece because that's going to affect your overall inflation. We've got to look at what the sources of income that are coming in from Social Security or rentals or pensions, things of that nature. We've got to look at healthcare and what is your tax strategy or lack thereof? Do we need to help you look at all of that? And then putting those things that are going to affect the overall plan, inflation, longevity, and you're going to be looking at risk and how much do you have in cash reserves. So all of these things really come together. And that's the biggest piece about being able to solve this complex puzzle is that you need to have a plan. And we get that question all the time, Megan, when people are like, well, how do I know that I can retire, that the time's right for me, that I'm ready? And that's something that we work with people on answering every single day that they're in our office, because, you've worked your entire life to accumulate this money, and it's not something that you want to just tackle alone or just leave in the hands of anyone. You really want somebody who specializes in all things retirement. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, let's talk about your plan. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we'll schedule a time. We'll sit down, we'll visit, and we'll talk about what we call your best life retirement plan, because we really do believe retirement could be the best time of your life. So I know you're going to find it extremely valuable. There's no cost or obligation to it. We'd just love to visit with you. So if that's you, 800-725-8220. Again, that's 800-725-8220. We are here to serve you any way that we can. Again, that number is 800-725-8220.
Arwen, I want to make sure that our listeners have your website too. It's beckerretirement.com, and you hold retirement planning events all throughout the year. And the really neat thing is that you also hold women's only events. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, I love those events. They're much more conversational. We usually don't have official PowerPoint, things like that, but I just really want to be able to make sure that questions are answered, whether you're married or not, that you can really feel free and open to ask questions, and it's open dialogue, and it's just more conversational that women tend to be, and a little less on all of the minute data. And they're just a super fantastic part of our practice. So I really would encourage you to look on our website if that's something that might interest you more so than a regular dinner seminar.
Again, BeckerRetirement.com is where you can find more information about those events, and you're welcome to call with any questions, 800-725-8220. It does seem, Arwen, like retirement planning almost requires us to switch gears a little bit because we're not talking anymore about amassing our wealth like we did when we were working. We're talking about taking what we've saved and then actually putting it to work for us. That's a big change in thinking. Is that challenging for people?
Oh my gosh, it's so challenging, Megan, because what you're trying to express to somebody is, oh, hey, you're not only going to be on a fixed income and no longer working and generating a certain amount of income, but we also want you to spend more. So it's like, wait a second, you've been telling me to save and accumulate, and I've been in this growth mode, and now all of a sudden I don't have a paycheck coming in, and then you're trying to get me to spend to do the fun things. I mean, they've done studies, and actually they've found the best time in people's lives, their entire life, is between the ages of 60 and 75. And so if that's the case and you have health on your side and you have money and you have time, that's when you need to be doing the fun things that you want to. So yeah, it's a really hard emotional switch for a lot of people. And my friend David Bach, who's a 9-time New York Times bestselling author, he says the term return on retirement. We're not focused on the return on your investment as much as we are, what is that doing for you in your retirement? And are you getting to spend confidently and doing that kind of stuff? So, it is a really daunting question for a lot of people to answer of how do I know I'm going to have enough and be able to accomplish these goals and all, there's just this, it's a real big emotional change. But a lot of times people get so focused on the number in which they've saved, but ultimately you have to keep in mind the most important part of retirement planning is the income and expenses. And so we've seen 2 appointments back to back where one couple will come in and they've got $250,000 saved for retirement. The next couple has $2 million. Well, by the time we've looked at their entire plan and had them back in for the next appointment, the first couple has more than $1 million when they're in their 90s, whereas the couple that had $2 million were out of money in their late 80s. And so it's how all of this works together. So I implore you to not focus so much on the dollar amount that you have saved, but it is how your expenses and income all work together. And that's just, again, that's part of how, these pieces start coming together to be able to make a plan where you can go, okay, I really do want to travel to Europe, or I do want to take that cruise, or I want to spend more time with my grandkids, but I'm afraid to start spending my money because, well, what if I needed it for future health care? And that's what stops a lot of people. And that's just part of working through the issues, being able to see how all of those work together. Again, how all of these pieces that you have laid out on the table, all these different papers of your 401k and your investments and all this kind of stuff, how it all functions and will pay for healthcare in the future, but still be able to do the stuff when you're in your 60s and your 70s where you have great health on your side. So all of these things come together. And you know what? If this resonates with you and you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, let's talk about your plan. Maybe you don't have a plan. And you know what? If that's you, we'll build one for you and we'll start to look at that. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to schedule a time. We'll sit down with you, we'll visit, and we'll talk through your best life retirement plan. And I promise you, you're going to find it so valuable. Part of our mission statement is that we're going to leave people better than when they came in. If that's only at an event or if that's one-time meeting, we will leave you better than when you came in. So there's no cost or obligation, and we just want to see if we can be of assistance to you. So if that's you, if you're thinking about retirement or maybe you're already there, give us a call, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We are here to make it a great experience. Again, that number, 800-725-8220.
With so many moving parts in retirement, what's the best option for lengthening the life of your assets? We'll discuss your options up next.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network. Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the 3 of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night.
what Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, it's Megan Mozak from the Retirement News Network. Always a pleasure to be here with Arwen Becker, one of the founders of Becker Retirement Group. Arwen, her husband Randy, they've been serving people right here in our community, helping people to retire successfully. And boy, if that's you, if you're trying to get that plan that will ensure you're going to have success in retirement, you can actually feel excited about retirement. I want to make sure you have Arwen and Randy's phone number. It's 800-725-8220 if you'd like to reach out. They have a great team, 800-725-8220, and online as well at beckerretirement.com. We've been talking about that successful retirement income plan and how it's made up of so many moving parts, and it can get a little overwhelming if you're trying to figure out how everything fits together so you have confidence that your income's going to last. A lot of people have that overwhelming feeling, that frustration. And Arwen's helping us understand just how important timing is when you're making your plan for retirement. I want to talk RMDs, Arwen. These are, of course, our required minimum distributions. We hear that term a lot. That's another piece of this income puzzle. How does timing factor in with those?
Yes, it is. And you know what? It's so interesting, Megan, is the amount of events that I'm speaking at. And I bring that up. A lot of times people are like, I'm not even thinking about that. And you know what? Honestly, I just would say before I kind of get into some of the basics of it, if you're working with a planner and they're not bringing that up, say you're in your mid 50s or into your early 60s and you haven't been discussing required minimum distributions, this is something required at 70 and a half. I would just caution you to really consider getting a second opinion from somebody who specializes in all things retirement, because that's something we are thinking about when people come in, even if they're in their late 50s. We're concerned about the tax bill they're going to have at 70 and a half. So what this RMD is I kind of call it an IOU to the IRS. So you have been saving in your 401k or a 457 or a 403b or whatever your company plan is, or an IRA. And what you've been doing is you've been paying yourself first. So you've been taking a chunk of money that the IRS has not taxed yet, putting it in there and receiving benefits on being able to grow that money faster. It's a great way to grow assets. But eventually, the good old IRS, they're not dumb. They're going to come knocking at your door and they're going to say, now it's time. Now we want our money back. You've got this harvest and we would like to take a percentage of that back. So the way it works is that at 70 and a half, the year following the year you turn 70 and a half, you need to start withdrawing money out of these 401ks or IRAs and paying the IRS their taxes that they want. And so what happens is, a lot of people, again, they're not thinking about this when they're in their 60s. And so all of a sudden 70 and a half comes and now they've got to take, maybe 3 to 4% out of all of those accounts combined. Because if you have multiple 401ks, you got to take money out of those. If you have IRAs, you got to take money to satisfy that. And really it's your whole household of those qualified assets that you've got to now withdraw money out of. And if you don't, it's the biggest tax penalty in the tax code. It's 50% of the amount that you were supposed to take out, which is astronomical. So if you imagine maybe you had $500,000 and the percentage was going to be, you have to take $18,000 out when you hit 70 and a half, and you don't, that means you're paying the IRS a penalty of $9,000. And this is something a lot of people get wrong because they haven't done it. They don't understand it. And of course, the IRS is very generous, Megan. They've got a 90-page document that explains how to take your RMD. So you could certainly refer to that if you wanted to. Or honestly, you just work with a planner that specializes in that. That's something that we do every September. We start preparing for year-end RMDs for all of our clients to make sure that this is part of the strategy. And then as we were talking about income, so many of our clients do need income. And so what we're doing is we kind of at the same time, we're withdrawing or evacuating money out of those qualified plans to satisfy the RMD, but that also satisfies the income need that clients have. And what we don't want to do, and again, this is proper planning, you don't want to take more than you need out because one, you don't want to pay more in taxes if you don't have to, but then having all this extra income that you don't really need either. So that's just, again, seeing how it all functions together. And a trusted advisor who does this can really help you with proper timing.
Absolutely. Boy, that timing, coming back to that, so important. But when I was thinking about having a Roth IRA, do you have to take those RMDs, those required minimum distributions with a Roth?
No, that's a good question, Megan. No, you don't have to. And, that's why I bring up that it's often a good idea. Randy and I talk a lot about taxes. He really enjoys that piece of it, that it's good, just like diversification with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and cash accounts and things like that. It's good to have diversification inside your retirement portfolio as it relates to different tax titlings. So, ideally, you look to have different accounts that carry these different tax obligations. That would be like a Roth IRA versus an IRA versus a non-IRA account. And so having some different things allows you to withdraw in a more tax efficient manner. So mixing these things together. And this is part of assessing and really understanding the different sources of retirement income and how much you're going to need, how long you can expect to have it, and how all of those pieces really work together. And, maybe this resonates with you. If that's you and you're going, yeah, I need to see how this functions together. And, gosh, I've never even really considered what my tax picture is going to look like when I hit 70 and a half. And, maybe you're 62. It's a great time to start talking about it. And so that's something that we want to help you with. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, let us talk about your plan or build one for you if you don't have one yet. Something that's clear and easy to understand. That's just something that just means so much to me when I see the light bulb go on with a lot of our clients who maybe didn't really understand how things function together. So that number is 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We're going to schedule a time to sit down with one of our advisors, and we're going to start talking through some of this stuff and building your best life retirement plan. You're going to find it extraordinarily valuable. You will have fun doing it. We try our best to make it a really enjoyable experience. So there's absolutely no cost associated with that. So give us a call, 800-725-8220. We are here to serve you any way we can, 800-725-8220.
Arwen's website, make sure you visit beckerretirement.com. You can find out about those events that she, her husband Randy, and the team hold all throughout the year, plus those women-only events. Again, it's beckerretirement.com. I think we have to talk taxes here. You brought up the government, the IRS. Arwen, so being tax efficient, so important. Got to have that tax strategy. But how else can you make your retirement assets last, Arwen?
Well, when you start to involve things like Social Security and diversifying your assets, and some other tools that you might be looking into, like an annuity or something, again, it's all about timing. So let's first just start looking at Social Security. A lot of people just automatically assume, well, if I delay, it's going to be worth more to me. Well, that's true. It increases by about 8% every year up until age 70. But that's not always best for everybody. That's not always what's necessary for everybody. And so that's why when you're making a decision on when to start Social Security, you have to know how that functions if you do have a pension, or if you have rental income, or you have other assets, or maybe your spouse is still working and there's earned income coming in. There's a lot of things to come into play. And really, once you make that decision with Social Security, it's relatively irrevocable. You can pay it back within the first year, but that's not something that people are going to typically do. So you want to look at all those pieces as they function together. And then again, if you're now having to take money out of your IRA or your 401ks for that RMD, that required minimum distribution, now you're going to have more income. If you were delaying at 70 for Social Security and then at 70 and a half, you have to start taking more income. And there could be not the most tax efficient way in which to do it. So that's again where we want to look at taking these bits and pieces and how they function together. And so often what happens, instead of taking qualified distributions from your 401k or traditional IRA, we call it the income gap. What happens is if you take it early in retirement, you're actually starting to evacuate some of your IRA or your 401k to start to minimize that tax bill for the future. And that might allow you to delay Social Security. So there's different things that kind of function together. And again, it's seeing the timing of it all, the order in which you do it. This is why you sit down with somebody who is qualified in working on things specific to retirement.
Now, Arwen, how can proper asset diversification help sustain a portfolio?
Oh my gosh, Megan, that's just such a big piece of it. It really, having proper diversification really helps just to have consistency in retirement. A lot of people want simplification and consolidation, but emotional consistency is actually pretty great too. So I like to say diversification is a lot of eggs in a lot of baskets, and we really want to manage that risk piece. And, this is where you start to look at, okay, well, what is diversification? Well, as it relates to the portfolios in which we create and utilize for our clients, if that's what we're trying to create, we typically look at something that's going to cover maybe a broad range of about 18 asset classes and 60 countries. And, maybe if it were a balanced portfolio, that might include 6,000 stocks, 5,000 bonds, real estate, a number of different things internally in it. But doing it with only about 20 holdings or so, which again, when we come back to simplification for a lot of retirees, that's what they're looking for. They don't want a 40-page statement with a bunch of things being bought and sold, bought and sold, and bought and sold. So it's looking at how all of these things function together. And stocks can really provide solid growth to help against inflation, future healthcare, all of those things that are going to be pieces of the future for most of us. So there's great ways to solve for that. But then you can also temper some of the downside. And maybe you're going, well, I'd like some stocks, but things that are a little less risky. And then we could look at something that's, more dividend paying stocks, and it provides for great long-term growth, but a bit of income, but it also reduces some of the overall risk. That is a huge part of the role in which I'm supposed to play, and making sure that we have all the proper pieces together and the proper tools to make sure we're being smart about diversification and the risk that you have. And so a lot of people, they come in, they've been accumulating money in their 20s and 30s and 40s and growing it, but now it's really time to start protecting them. And that is the number one priority we have as a company, is preserving what you have worked your whole life to accumulate. So if that matters to you, let's talk about it. If you've saved about $250,000 for retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We want to work through a risk assessment, make sure you have the proper balance, especially after this big market run up that we've had for the last 9+ years. So if that's of concern to you, please give us a call at 800-725-8220.
A 401k and IRA both can be great at optimizing your overall retirement income strategy. Learn how they can boost your guaranteed income and more. That's coming up in our next segment.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Concerned about missing the boat to a confident retirement? Don't worry. It's never too late to establish your relationship with a financial professional. In fact, if you've already retired, it may even be more important to have a reliable, trusted advisor help keep your retirement strategy on track. Act today. Optimize your time horizon, your recovery time, and take advantage of available opportunities to develop your overall financial strategy. Don't walk alone. Choose to work with an independent financial professional. Why not start today?
If it's important to you to get started today to refine your retirement strategy, give me a call. I'm Arwen Becker with Becker Retirement Group. Let's sit down together and look at your options. Call me at 1-800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. By contacting us, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of insurance and investment products.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Glad to have you with us today on the program. Megan Mozak, joined by Arwen Becker of Becker Retirement Group. The number there, if you have any questions about your own retirement situation, Arwen and Randy, they've been doing this for a combined 40 years, and they'd be happy to sit down with you, look at your plan for retirement, and give you their best advice on how your plan looks. Give them a call today. If you need that second opinion, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We're talking about retirement income, having a strategy for that, and making sense of all the moving parts. You want to get the timing right. Of course, you want to maximize your income in retirement. And Arwen, we know there aren't many guarantees in life, so your clients have to be pretty encouraged when you tell them there are some options, though, to guarantee part of your income in retirement.
Yes, I know, because that usually makes them stop and go, wait a second. And you know what? That's true, because we always say the pension is kind of going the way of the dodo bird. And it was one of those things that for so long, that's what people could rely on. They got the gold watch and they got the pension when they left, and they had this guaranteed stream of income that was going to provide for them for the rest of their lives. Now people are facing this perplexing moment in time where they take this chunk of money that they've saved in their company plan, and now they have to become the expert on how to create income for themselves. And second to preserving assets that people have worked their whole life for, that's really our second pillar. And that is the income planning piece, because the majority of people who come in to see us, they do have some form of income gap. They're not fortunate enough that 2 Social Securities and 2 pensions are coming in, and that's enough to cover their expenses. They have some sort of dip in income. So we've really got to create this income stream no matter what is happening on Wall Street. Because if you imagine you retired in early of 2008 and you were taking money out of an account that all of a sudden was down 30%, that depletes your assets mathematically so much faster when you're taking an income stream out of it. So we want to be able to have options to utilize both types of accounts and to be able to see really what works. And so the pension replacement, when the industry started looking at, okay, well, we've got to have some option for people to replace their guaranteed streams of income because pensions were no longer an option. That's when annuities kind of came on board. And annuities themselves have been in existence for a long time, but specifically indexed annuities, which have no downside risk. Typically, they don't have fees like a variable annuity would because they're not in the market and things of that nature. It allows people to have this guaranteed stream of income that's not based on the big ups and downs of what's going on in the market. And so it's really neat for individuals to be able to utilize these. And then also, if they're taking required minimum distributions, they're in their 70s, their income that's coming out of these can also satisfy that RMD. So there's just a lot of ways in which you can work through it.
Arwen, can you also buy an immediate annuity with funds from your IRA or your 401k?
Yeah. So what happens often, Megan, is that people they'll roll their 401k money into an IRA. So that's a non-taxable event when that occurs. That just a bit of warning. You want to make sure that gets done right too, because if you do that wrong, it makes the entire thing taxable. That could be a horrible, horrible thing. We don't want that to happen to you. But you can roll 401k over into an immediate annuity or into a traditional IRA that's also in an immediate annuity. And immediate annuity just means that it's going to be starting income immediately. That's what it means. Not everybody needs that to start the moment that they exit out of their current working circumstance. But a lot of times what happens is people maybe want to defer the income for maybe a year or so, or maybe a little bit longer because they have other forms of income. Maybe they just got a nice big bucket of cash that's sitting there that they're like, you know what, I just want to kind of be hands off for that just a little bit longer. So there are different ways in which people can do that. And, as I'd mentioned, a lot of people come into our office, they don't have a pension. So they've got this chunk of money and you've accumulated over all these years. And now all of a sudden you need to become an expert at distributing it back to you. And that can be really tough for people to do, especially if it's not done right. And it can be like this whole Rubik's Cube thing that we've been talking to. It can be overwhelming and just seem like I'm just never going to be able to get this right. So that's not how we feel. This is something that we walk our clients through day in, day out. So if that's you, and you think that maybe an annuity might be a piece that you want to add to your overall plan. Again, it's not for everybody, but you need to know it is an option. That's something that we would sit down and we'd talk about your specific unique circumstance. And we'd talk about how our investment team thinks that might be a good piece to the puzzle for you if we saw everything else together. So if that's you, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to talk about some of the options that you might have for consistent, reliable income throughout your retirement. And it's really something that you just don't want to get wrong. We don't want to screw this one up because this is the money that you're relying on for the rest of your life, for income, for healthcare, all of those things that are going to matter to you. And make sure you get to have fun and go on those trips and be able to start book clubs and all the fun things that a lot of people want to do. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to sit down. We're going to talk through your customized best life retirement plan. We promise that you're going to receive something of value, even if we only meet with you once, leave you better than when you came in. And it's just going to be a great experience. So give us a call, 800-725-8220.
And we're glad you're spending some of your day with us today. Here's the website. If you want to learn more about Arwen, Randy, or the team there at Becker Retirement Group, just go to beckerretirement.com. We've talked about those retirement planning events that Arwen and Randy hold throughout the year. Arwen also holds women-only events. These are great way to meet Arwen, get to know her philosophy on retiring successfully. Go to beckerretirement.com if you'd like more information on that. It's beckerretirement.com. The right annuity, Arwen, it sounds like it can really help fill in some income holes, especially those that might pop up as you live longer. And of course, the risk of outliving your assets can be higher in that case. So how do you know which annuity is actually right for you?
Well, that's why you talk to somebody who knows a lot of these things and can lay it all out and make it very clear to you. Megan, I always think it bears repeating because sometimes people turn on the radio and this is what they hear. Annuities are just a tool. It's not, there's not one being more important than the other. I love working with, diversified portfolios and utilizing the risk piece so we can have great growth for the future. But an annuity oftentimes for people who don't have a pension just ends up being a great tool to offer consistent income out of an account that's not going negative when the market's going negative. And so again, it's just a balance. So which kind of annuity might be right for you? Again, it could be an immediate. It could be one that is deferred, where you're deferring the payments. Maybe you start taking it in a year or 5 years or 10 years, or maybe it just ends up being a savings vehicle for you because you just are not a big fan of being in the market. So whether they are funded by tax advantage dollars or not, it really depends on your particular situation. So it's looking at how all of these pieces come together, the type of annuity, what the tax implications are. That's why we have a CPA, because tax planning is a huge part of retirement when you're on a fixed income. If we can put or leave more money in your retirement due to being tax wise, we're going to do that. That just makes sense. So that's why we always partner with a CPA and looking at how these things work. So any tax implications, fees, any potential penalties, because Megan, the thing that a lot of people forget about is that when you have at-risk assets in the market, you have growth and you have liquidity, but you have no safety. When you have assets in the bank, you have safety and liquidity, but you have no growth. Well, annuities fall into the other category where you have growth, but you have safety. And it just means that you oftentimes give up some of your liquidity. It doesn't become illiquid. It's not at all that. but you might have penalties for early withdrawal. So you got to be able to see how all these work together. It's not always right for everyone, but that's why we work through a plan and see if it's right for you.
Arwen, where does a cash reserve or an emergency fund come into play, and how much should we be setting aside?
Well, that's a really great question. And, a lot of times people have been told, or maybe just because of saving over the year, they feel like if they've got $30,000 sitting in a bank account earning basically point nothing, right, that they're doing themselves a disservice. Our philosophy is it's very irresponsible if people are being told that they need to invest everything. Like, oh, keep $5,000 in the bank, but you need to get your money working for you. When you have an emergency fund that might have $30,000 to $70,000 of liquid cash easily accessible in it, we think that is brilliant in a retirement plan. And it's highly necessary for most people to have that, because the job of that money is that you get to spend confidently when it matters to you, that you're not thinking, oh, this was a really great deal to take my grandkids on this cruise, but I don't have enough and I need to call my broker and they need to liquidate these holdings. And then that's going to be another 5 days. And then it's going to be in my account 2 days later. That's what an emergency bucket does. It not only provides you the freedom to be able to spend confidently when you want to, but then if something did come up, heaven forbid your water heater goes out or something like that, and you need to write a check for $8,000 or $10,000 or something, you're going to be able to do that. And so, for us, we really think between $30,000 and $70,000 is pretty typical for what we see, whether people are single or married. Occasionally, some people want to keep a little more than that, maybe upwards of about 100. I haven't seen a lot of things over these last 18 years that warrant having much more than that. That's liquid cash, having, diversified portfolio that you could, liquidate a portion or all of it in a matter of about a week or so. That's different, but we're talking about cash that's basically earning, money market rates or less. So that's a really good gauge for most people. So it's seeing that come together and having somebody tell you that, a lot of times it just makes people feel a lot better, that I thought maybe I had to invest it, but it just really made me nervous thinking about doing that. And we're here to help you through that. We want you to be able to understand what you own, how it all functions together, how much liquid cash you should have, how much is reasonable to remain invested, at what risk. All of these things come together, and it's about having a plan. There's a difference between investments and planning. And that's what we see over and over. The people who come in is they just don't know how their investments are actually a plan for the future. So we want to help you out with that. If that's you, 800-725-8220, 800-725-8220. If you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you and visit and just talk about your best life retirement plan. That's 800-725-8220.
What makes up an effective income strategy that lasts? Arwen shares more insights straight ahead.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
The sooner you establish your relationship with an independent financial professional, the better. Why? That longer time horizon can give you more flexibility, broader product choices, more time to respond to market changes, more time to take advantage of opportunities, and more time to coordinate your entire financial strategy. Those are powerful reasons to get a professional in your corner while you're still working. Don't put off planning for your retirement. Choose to work with an independent financial professional. Why not start today? It may even help you retire earlier.
If it's important to you to get started today to refine your retirement strategy, give me a call. I'm Arwen Becker with Becker Retirement Group. Let's sit down together and look at your options. Call me at 1-800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. By contacting us, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of insurance and investment products.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, it's Megan Mozak alongside Arwen Becker of Becker Retirement Group. If you'd like to start planning for your retirement, if that's something that's quickly approaching and you haven't thought about it yet, but you know you need to, I want to encourage you to reach out to Arwen. She works with her husband, Randy. They have a terrific team, and they can help you feel a heck of a lot more confident about this next phase of life called retirement. I want to make sure you have the number. It's 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Arwen's giving us some really great insights on the timing of RMDs. Those are required minimum distributions, and also qualified distributions for your 401k or your IRA if you have one of those. Arwen, are there other planning strategies, though, you think we should be aware of as retirement approaches?
Yeah. So, most retirement accounts, they're going to allow you to do a little bit of catch up after you reach the age of 50. So for the year of 2017, really what that meant was that a 401k is going to allow those individuals who are over 50 to contribute an additional $6,000 of money. And if that was to an IRA or a Roth, you can actually contribute $6,500 if you're over the age of 50 versus $5,500 if you're younger. David Bach, who is one of the co-owners of AE Wealth Management and also our director of investor education, he wrote Smart Couples Finish Rich, Smart Women Finish Rich, The Automatic Millionaire. And he really hammers this point of utilizing those types of accounts to bolster your retirement investments and savings as fast as humanly possible. And, it's just really important because if you're able to take money before it's taxed and put it into those accounts, it just means that you have more money that's going to be growing faster and is going to be better for your retirement. And it's this whole thing of paying yourself first. It's paying yourself even before the IRS gets their hands on that money. And so it's really important. And he actually speaks in length. If you're part of a couple in his Smart Couples Finish Rich, which was just revised about 3 or 4 months ago. For you ladies out there, Smart Women Finish Rich is a fantastic book. It's in the final edits of being able to get that one revised because that was the first book he wrote nearly 20 years ago. So they just want to update all of the facts and figures and everything in there. But I would highly recommend that you pick those up or call our office. And, we've got some copies of those when you come in. We'd be happy to pass one along. But, there's a lot of these different things. A lot of people talk about HSA accounts, which are health savings accounts. And those go along with high deductible health insurance plans. And that's a really great way for people to be able to save some money towards specific healthcare related expenses. And they provide a really great tax benefit. So there's some different things to look into. There's just a lot of moving parts. And I know as we throw out ideas and you should do this, and then here's a figure in which you could contribute if you're a certain age and RMDs and all this kind of stuff, it gets overwhelming. And we're back to this whole mixed up Rubik's Cube feeling that we have that Megan and I are going to take the stickers off and just deconstruct it because we're too confused. And we don't want that to happen to you. We want to be able to have a great conversation and be able to help you understand how it functions together so you don't have to do something irresponsible like deconstruct your Rubik's Cube.
Nobody wants that. Oh, wow. We're really covering a lot of ground here, Arwen. We'd be remiss, though, if we didn't talk healthcare because you got to address that cost in retirement. Those costs are always going up. How do you address medical spending in healthcare and retirement so the assets you've built up in your retirement accounts don't just evaporate if you've got a health issue?
Yeah, that one I'm really passionate about, Megan. And it's because I see a lot of times people haven't even had that conversation. If they're married or you're part of a couple, you haven't really talked about that. But I'm telling you, 7 out of 10 people are going to need some form of health care coverage for the future. And this is where at my women's events, I get very direct about this because, ladies, the truth of the matter is you're going to live longer. You're going to need more money for your own retirement. And you've just got to have that prepared for, because if you're married, the chances of your spouse passing away before you is extraordinarily high. 80% of men die married, 80% of women die single. And that just means that you've got to see, what does that look like? One, if your spouse passes away and you have income that's now no longer there, Social Security is gone. But what happens if they needed care? This is where so many women find themselves, I hate to use the word destitute, but it is the truth, because women are so giving and so loving and just they'll sacrifice for the people that they love and adore. But if your spouse needed care, and that came out of your retirement funds, oftentimes there's just not enough left for all the years that you have ahead for you just to live life, let alone for your future healthcare. So this is a conversation that it absolutely has to happen. And if you're meeting with a planner and they are avoiding this conversation and it's not coming up and kind of making you feel a little bit uncomfortable, as it does to all of us, I just really implore you to look around for another planner that's going to address this head on, because I don't want people to run out of money. It's just the most awful thing to see somebody in their 80s running out of money and having to now be a burden on their kids. So looking at these things, Medicare does not pay for all the things that a lot of people expect it to. So there's a lot of cost shifting that's going on. So again, you need to know the facts. What's Medicare going to cover? What is Medicare not going to cover? And how can you self-fund, or do we need to look at some long-term care options when you're still young enough to have those options on the table? So longevity, I've mentioned it many times at my event. It is the biggest risk that you face against your retirement, whether you're married or not, male or female. So it's vital that you know with a degree of certainty that the money that you've saved over the course of your life, it's going to cover your healthcare related expenses that you're going to face likely years from now. And we want to help you determine that you're covered adequately. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to talk about some of the options that you might have for future healthcare coverage. And you know what? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be talking about purchasing a long-term care policy. There's a lot of options that people have that can cover their future healthcare needs. So we just don't want you to get it wrong. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. And if you're married, we want to make sure that your spouse is not going to be left without money if you needed to have that coverage for yourself. So give us a call, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to sit down and we're going to work through your customized best life retirement plan, which includes a deliberate discussion on the possible options that you have for your healthcare needs. So that number again is 800-725-8220.
That website to find out more about Arwen, Randy, and the team at Becker Retirement Group, just go to beckerretirement.com. Maybe you're listening today and you're interested in attending one of Arwen's women's only events. Make sure you go to that website to find out more. Again, it's beckerretirement.com. As far as timing goes, Arwen, any other thoughts for people who are starting to think about their retirement future?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of times people think, oh, I started saving late, or, maybe I just, it's too late for me, or whatever it is. It's never too late for people to really get started. And, that old adage of when's the best time to plant a tree? And that was 20 years ago. Well, the second best time to plant a tree is now. And that's really what we're helping people get to. I've sat down with plenty of individuals who, by one reason or another, it could be divorce, it could be the loss of a spouse, it could could be that they just didn't work while their kids were at home. And now they're doing that because they were, there's just a number of different circumstances where I see people who really didn't even start saving until they were almost 50. And yet by the time we sit down with them in their mid 60s, they've saved a really good chunk of money. But it means constant, deliberate. You've got to get it automated. You've got to utilize 401ks and company plans and any employer matching. And you still have to get a deliberate plan. You need to see how this stuff is working together, but it's the third and fourth decade that really make the biggest impact on people's savings. So again, if you're, 50 and the likelihood of you living into your 90s is pretty high for a lot of our clients, even starting to save deliberately in your 50s, it's not too late. It's not. So making sure that you're looking at how this works together, and you really don't underestimate the power of compounding interest. Even a decade of serious investing and cash flow management and budgeting really can make a huge difference for a lot of the people that we talk with. So don't write yourself off. Dave Bach actually wrote another book that says start late, finish rich. So that's for people who, kind of have that feeling like we just didn't do what we were supposed to, and now we got to do it. But, you're mature enough now, you really can make these decisions to cut where you need to and be able to adequately focus on that plan and be able to still make it to retirement. Absolutely.
As we're talking about timing today, I wonder if you had any other words of advice as we begin to wrap up here, helping people stretch their retirement dollars.
Yeah, something that comes to mind is a gal that came in to an event of ours in the middle of 2008. And at that point, she had recently been widowed. And so one of the Social Securities was now gone. They had no pension, no life insurance. So the assets that they had, which was about $600,000, was the asset she needed to live the rest of her life on. And she hadn't been working. She'd been taking care of kids and her elderly parents and stuff like that. So she was in a very precarious position where things needed to work. And the $600,000 that she had just now got back up to $600,000 after 1999. So 99, it was worth $600,000. 3 years of the dot bomb, they call it, where 3 years in a row it went negative. It finally grew itself back to that same amount of $600,000. So this money mattered to her. And we put together a great plan, an income plan. We were reducing her volatility because that was a huge piece of why she lost so much money through the dot bomb. And we integrated this plan. Well, her son said, Mom, I don't really know all the ins and outs of that plan, but I think you should talk to the broker that you and Dad utilized over all those years. And she ultimately took his advice and did her best to explain what it is that we were doing for her. And the broker talked her out of it, said, stay the course. This is a great plan. It's going to work for you. And it was devastating to her because 3 months later, the worst decline in stock market history in her living history occurred. And Megan, that cost her nearly $300,000 of her security. And that doesn't need to happen to people. And I'm seeing it over and over that a lot of people are way more risky right now because of this 9 years of this bull run. You've got to start preparing. You've got to see how it all works together. You need to start taking some of your winnings off the table and create a plan that's not going to leave you like this gal with $300,000 less for what could be another 40-year retirement. So if you're feeling like that might be you and you don't have a plan and it doesn't really function the way you think it should, or it doesn't resonate with the things that I'm saying today, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We do not want you to end up like that gal did and be left wondering if you're going to have enough to last throughout your retirement, or if you have to go back to work when you weren't prepared to do that. So 800-725-8220. You'll come in, you'll sit with us. We'll talk through your best life retirement plan. We're going to leave you better than when you came in, and we're here to help you any way we can. So hopefully we'll get to see you. We'll get to see you in an event of ours, but certainly give our office a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Can't wait to see you.
You've been listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies. Becker Retirement Group is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Becker Retirement Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had, we talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.